Let's talk to God. One more thing, like, subscribe, and share. Come on, let's talk to God. Woo!
Good evening, everybody, and happy what day of the week is it? I know what day of the week is. It's Tuesday because I only show up on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and I show up for 1,800 seconds. This is Cutler here in the Let's Talk to Cutler broadcast, the Let's Talk to Cutler virtual book club, the Let's Talk to Cutler blog, vlog, and all of those things. And I'm glad to be here. I know I sound congested. It's the season. It's the allergies. It's all of that stuff. I sound congested, but I feel fine. So if you're wondering, Cutler, what's going on? Are you okay? Yeah, I'm okay. I sound congested, but like I said, I feel fine. I want to tell you all this. If in case somebody's just stopping by, running by for the first time, and they hit brakes, they want to know, what is that guy talking about? I've got to tell everybody. This channel is about motivation, inspiration, and it's about challenging ourselves to be better. How can I show up better tomorrow than I did today? I'm feeling really good, you all. I'm in a great headspace. And not only how can I show up better tomorrow than I did today, but how can I make sure that I showed up better today than I did yesterday? It does not mean that yesterday or today was a failure or a flop or anything like that. It means I'm serious about improving myself. I'm serious about becoming better. And what can I do intentionally to become better? That's what this channel is about. There's enough bad news out there everywhere else, but for about 1,800 seconds, we talk about some things that will challenge us, that will poke us and prod us to become better. So I want to thank you. Those of you who have been with me for a while, thank you so very much for sticking in there, hanging in with me for the long haul. Those of you who have purchased my books and got all of those, thank you so very much. Those who are here every Tuesday and Thursday, whether you catch the replay, whether you jump into the chat, I am so appreciative, more than you will ever know. So if you're stopping by, please come on by. If you haven't subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I promise you, I try not to talk about anything that would just waste your time, but go ahead and subscribe. Do me that favor. And after you subscribe, go ahead and click the notification bell because it lets you know when I've gone live and when I've uploaded new content. I bet those who have been with me for a while can probably just recite that just as well as I can. Whenever you click the notification bell, it lets you know whenever I've gone live or uploaded new content. And by the way, if you're jumping into the chat room with me, thank you so much, because I like to know that you're here. I like to know that you're chatting with me. I like to see what you have to say about the conversation of the evening. So feel free to just jump in and chat, and I'll try to read the chats as I'm talking. And I want to invite you, go ahead and do a thumbs up, because the thumbs up says to YouTube, I like what that guy's talking about over there. But it also lets me know that you are encouraged by our conversations, and it lets me know that to keep up that kind of conversation, because we're listening. It's helping us. I tell you, your comments and your chats do help me. So I want to get right into the conversation. But before I do, I want to acknowledge the LTTC VIPs for the evening. Those who just jumped right in the chat first. Looks like Annie Cutler jumped in first, and she says, get aboard, let's ride. And she says, get aboard, let's ride. Of course, that's exactly what we're doing, because I believe that we are heading on this way. We are on our road to some places called better. We've read this book, Billboards to Better, and much of our conversation has been based on that. But we're riding down this highway. We're going along this highway, and we're going to this place that's called better. Better does not happen 5 years from now. It does not happen 2 weeks from now, but better happens as soon as you believe it. As soon as you believe that you are capable of change, capable of improving, that is when better happens. Better is a state of mind. It starts as a state of mind, and it will manifest itself as a reality in your life. I promise. If my life taught me anything, my life has taught me that better is a state of mind, and it starts as soon as you think it, as soon as you believe it, as soon as you conceive it, and eventually, I promise you that it will manifest itself as a reality in your life. So it does not remain a state of mind, because some people will just psych you out and say, oh, better. But I promise you, when you believe that you can become, show up, and present yourself better, it will manifest in your life as a reality. It really will. I promise you, it will. So then, yes, Annie Cutler, thank you. Get aboard. Let's ride. We're riding along this highway to this place that's called Better, and we don't want to get there by ourselves. So, as T. Cutler says, Happy Tuesday, LTTC family. I want us to get there together. I want us to get the mindset together that we can be better. And life throws us these curveballs, but guess what? Sometimes we knock a grand slam. Sometimes we hit a home run. Sometimes we just make it to first base. And sometimes we feel like we strike out, but guess what? The moment I strike out, I got somebody else on my team who's coming up to bat behind me. That's what these 1800 seconds are about. So then, MV says, good evening, everyone. Good evening to all of you all. Thank you so much for tuning in. This evening, I want us to have a conversation about how do we handle the uncomfortable situations in life. Today, I got a text message earlier this morning. It was about 6:14. One of my law school classmates informed me that, or reminded me rather, that her mother had passed. And it was, it always moves me when people deal with death, but in particular, death so close, such as a sibling or a parent or a spouse. Those things, they take me someplace because I'm such an empathetic person. But what I realized during the course of the day, sometimes we find ourselves in situations like that. And so many people have said to me, I don't know what to say in moments like that. I don't know what to do in moments like that. I'm so thankful that I've been graced with the ability to have something to say. It was not always like that. But I thought during the day, how do we handle those uncomfortable situations, and not just something like that, but just in general? And so I wanted to offer us a little something to put in our arsenal, talk about how we can show up a little bit better tomorrow than we did today. I wanted to offer us something to put in our arsenal to walk away with and say, okay, thank you, Cutler. That helps me. That helps me to know in the future, whenever I find myself in a difficult situation or a challenging situation, I can be better because here's something that we've talked about. So in terms of how to handle uncomfortable situations, I want you all to tell me, give me examples of uncomfortable situations as I'm having this conversation, because that will help me to tailor the conversation based on what you all are saying. Meanwhile, I can give us a few do's and don'ts about these uncomfortable situations that we go through in life. You know, you find yourself on the job in an uncomfortable situation, in the boardroom in an uncomfortable situation, at church or in a religious setting in an uncomfortable situation, in certain conversations, in certain circles around family members. We can find ourselves in difficult and uncomfortable situations. So you all tell me, give me some examples of what might be or may have been in your life an uncomfortable situation. I'll talk about some do's and don'ts, and I'll see if I can specifically apply those to the things that you guys are sharing. But I'll tell you, one of the do's in terms of an uncomfortable situation, one of the things that you want to do is stop and think before you react. That is a life lesson like no other. When you are in uncomfortable situations, one of the first things that you want to do is stop and think before you react. Stop and think before you react. Why would I say that? Because you don't want to give a knee-jerk reaction. Many times, a knee-jerk reaction is not the best reaction. So I caution us, whenever you're in an uncomfortable situation, instead of giving a knee-jerk reaction, you might just want to stop and think. And what does that look like? Oftentimes, I would ask people, I probe just a little deeper, and I said, well, what does that look like? So if you want to say, Cutler, what does that look like? What does it look like not to give a knee-jerk reaction, but to pause and think? Literally, if you're sitting down, sit back, sit straight up. Kind of like if you're sitting now and you're listening to our conversation, just pause for a moment and sit back, sit straight up. Because if you're in an uncomfortable situation, it is a conversation and you don't know exactly how to respond, what to say, pause and think before you react. If someone does something, pause and think before you react. Sit back, sit up straight, collect yourself. Breathe, literally breathe, you all. Inhale and exhale. I used to tell many of my students, count to 3 because it will look like you have given some thought to what you're about to say. That's just a helpful hint. I'm just giving you all that one for free. That's just a helpful hint. I would always tell them, count to 3 before you respond, because it gives the appearance that you have given some thought to what you are about to say. So pause and think. Do not, under any circumstances, give a knee-jerk reaction. Just don't do it. You don't know what to say. You don't know how to respond. Make sure you collect yourself. Look like you collect yourself. Shift your body. And when you shift your body, you shift your mind. So the way I just shifted my body, you shift your body and you sit straight back. Sit straight up. Breathe. And as you're doing that, as your body is adjusting, so is your mind. That's one that I hope we can take and put in our arsenal. Don't give a knee-jerk reaction, but at least stop and think. Sometimes when we are put in uncomfortable situations, one of the things that we do, since we don't know how to handle them, guess what we do, you all? We ignore them. How many of you all, be honest with me, how many of you have ever been in uncomfortable situations and or conversations, and one of the things that you did was to ignore the problem? You ignored it. Y'all tell me the truth. How many of you have ever been in a situation, it was uncomfortable, you didn't know what to say, didn't know what to do, so what you did was to ignore it? Many times I tell people, do not ignore the problem. Do not sweep it under a rug, because if you sweep it under a rug, what's going to happen? You're going to create a huge mound under the rug, and all of a sudden, one day, you're going to walk over and you're going to trip on that same mound that you swept under the rug. You trip and you fall over the same thing that you tried to sweep aside. So what did you do? Cutler, what do we do? If we don't ignore, what do we do? Well, if you don't want to sweep it under the rug so that you trip and fall, you make sure engage yourself in open and honest communication. You do that because whenever a situation is ignored, it lends itself for all kinds of thoughts, all kinds of mental exercises. What if? I wonder what's going on. This may be open and honest communication is the best thing for uncomfortable situations, because I've been in those situations where people ignored the problem, ignored the situation, ignored what was going on. And what happened was that they ended up damaging reputations and relationships. Ignoring the problem is not good. It is not good. Because while you're ignoring it, people are thinking the worst. They're thinking all sorts of things. While you're ignoring the situations, so you start thinking all kinds of things. Well, I wonder if this is what they're thinking. I wonder if they must be thinking this. This must have been them. You don't know anybody's motives. You don't know their intentions. You don't know their thoughts unless you engage in open and honest dialogue about what's going on. So many times we draw conclusions, we make inferences, we make implications. We do all of that. We do all of that, and we never engage in open and honest communication. I said open and honest communication because sometimes when people engage in communication, it's not always open and or honest. It's open, but it's filled with holes and flaws and fallacies and all those sorts of things. Or it's honest, but it's not completely open. They just give part of the story. Engage in open and honest communications if you're trying to save and salvage relationships. Otherwise, you start sweeping things under a rug. Like I said, you're just going to end up messing up reputations and relationships. You're going to create this huge mound that you yourself might trip and fall over. Don't do that. Learn how to set the record straight. That's what I'm saying. Learn how to set the record straight. And if you are engaged in a situation with someone who does not want to set the record straight, you have to then do an evaluation of the relationship. I keep asking for that. I keep asking for this. I'm trying to engage in open and honest communication, and it is not reciprocated. Cutler, what do? Evaluate the relationship. Got to evaluate the relationship and see if it's worth having, if it's worth continuing at the level where you currently have it. I'm not suggesting that it's not worth having or it's not worth continuing, but is it worth having or worth continuing at the level where you currently have it? I'm not going to talk to you 5 times a day if you're lying to me 5 times a day. I'm not going to talk to you 7 days a week if you're lying to me 7 days a week. That level of communication is not going to exist. It just isn't. So sometimes you have to ask yourself, do I want to continue this at this level, or do I want to continue it at all? What else might we do if we find ourselves in these uncomfortable? I hope this is helping somebody, because I found myself in uncomfortable situations so many times, wishing that I had the answer, wishing that I knew what to do. So what is the first thing we said? Stop and think before you react. Second thing, don't ignore the problem. Next, here we go. I don't know how comfortable you are with this, but I will suggest it. I will suggest this. In an uncomfortable situation, you might just want to smile. I'm not even going to, I was going to say and tell a joke, but sometimes telling a joke just really just, it fails. But in an uncomfortable situation, smiling might help you diffuse the situation, if nothing else. Because if you furrow, a furrow means you got these lines right here, like, what in the world? Or if you're like me, sometimes, you look and one of those eyebrows go up, or your immediate reaction is a frown like this. So I've learned how to smile. And some of my friends know me well enough to read through some of my chuckles and some of my laughter. And they go, oh, Lord. Okay. All right. And they go, Cutler. All right. So let me see what some of you all are saying. Let's see. This is timely for me because I'm going to a funeral. So McDiner, my condolences to you and the family. So I'm thankful that this is offering something, because funerals absolutely can be so uncomfortable. Envy, I might have to think about it, even if it's overnight. Then I respond, yes. And so I get that. So that is the pause and think before reacting. Yeah, I cannot put a time limit on how long to pause, but definitely give some thought to it. If it's overnight, Envy, I'm with you. That may be the best thing to do. Medina, in Virginia, I work with conflict resolution. The two keys is to listen and to seek to understand the other person. Absolutely, absolutely. One of the key things that we go through in law school is we make sure that we is interviewing and counseling and negotiation, and we listen. We are trained conflict resolutionists, and so we have to make sure we do those things. And you're absolutely right. You want to listen and understand the other person, because you cannot accurately respond to that which you don't understand. Don't make me go off of conflict resolution and listening, but that is the truth. You cannot accurately to that which you have not understood. And make sure you seek to understand them, not just seek to be understood yourself, but seek to understand them so that you can give an appropriate response to what they have attempted to communicate to you. All right? It is so important. And so many times we respond to what we think we heard, and we don't actively listen. Try this. I'm going to give you all these tips. One of the things that I do as an active listener is to repeat what I thought I heard. I will frequently say, so what I thought I heard you say is so and so and so and so, because I want to be crystal clear about what I'm responding to. If during your conversation or your communication with me, I'm interpreting what I don't hear you say, I will ask you, so does that mean such and such and such and such? Two things: what I thought I heard you say, and then I repeat it. And then the other thing is, so does that mean, because this, I think you mean this, and I want to make sure that I'm clear. Learn how to actively listen, you all. Learn how to actively listen. All right. So then let me see what else you all are putting in the chat. I'm just trying to make sure that I read Jay Song for you. If I'm in the company of someone who has recently experienced a loss, other than not knowing what to say as a friend, what are some things, conversations I should be able to say or to offer? I think that is an excellent question, Jay Song, for you. It's some of the same. It really goes hand in hand with what McDiner was asking earlier or mentioning earlier. She says, because she's going to a funeral soon. One of the things that I've learned to say, especially if people share the same faith that I have, I've learned to say to them, whatever emotion you are experiencing, you're certainly entitled to that. And no one can tell you not to feel the way that you feel. That because it validates where people are. And it helps them to know that somebody is standing there with them. You might not be able to identify with what they're going through in that moment, but it helps them to know that somebody is with them. Even if you can't identify, at least you are there with them to the extent that you can be. I've said to people, I wish there was somewhere that I could push my hand through your chest and massage your heart, but I can't help it. I can't make it go away. But to the extent that I can, I'm here for you. Right? Linda, I'm with you. So we have to we have to make sure that we don't say, I know how you feel. A lot of times we mean well. We mean well. But I think if we can tailor, Jason, for you, if we can tailor our conversation to where it really communicates what we're trying to say, it really hits the mark. Say to them, it's okay to feel how you feel, because what you feel is real. Something else again that I've said to them is, I can't make your hurt go away. I wish I could. The most I might be able to do is be here for you. And to be honest, I really don't know what that means in this situation. I don't know what being here for you means. In my mind, I'm wondering, do I call you every day? You help me give you what you need. All of those awkward moments, you say it. I don't know what you need in this moment, but I invite you to let me know. When you feel like you need this, when you feel like you have the strength, just let me know. And for those who share the same faith that I do, I certainly have said this, and I've said it on this platform before. I've said to them, it is okay. It is okay to you. It is okay for you to say to God, I don't like your decision, but help me accept your will. I don't like your decision, but help me to accept your will. I'm disappointed with your decision even, but help me to accept your will. All right. So it's just those kinds of things. So those situations are uncomfortable. Pause and think. And can I tell you all this? Speaking of at funerals, sometimes people don't mean any harm. I'm from the South, and we will say things like, I don't mean no harm. People really don't mean any harm. They don't. And they'll say things like, well, at least he's in a better place. At least she's in a better place. At least she's not in any pain anymore. At least he's not in any pain anymore. At least they're in a better place. And you want to say to yourself, okay, they're in a better place, but I'm not in a better place without them. So when you're going through and you're the one on the end who's dealt with the loss, people can say, you all tell me if I'm telling the truth. People can say anything to you, but your emotions are so high until you could critique the slightest thing that they say. So because many of us have been there, and the things that people said, sometimes it just set you on a course that just you didn't intend to pursue. You learn how to talk through those awkward moments. Meanwhile, somebody can just show up, be there, and say nothing, and it means the world to you. So learn how to gauge those moments when you are uncomfortable. Learn how to gauge those moments. But for goodness sakes, make sure you don't get judgmental. Do not become judgmental, you are in uncomfortable situations. That is the very worst thing to do. Instead of becoming judgmental, no matter what the uncomfortable situation is, don't become judgmental. And may I suggest to you all that we are all guilty of this, because it is so easy for us to do. It is so easy for us to say, if that were me, I would have. Or if that were me, I would have never done it like that. If that were me, it is so easy for us to become judgmental. But what happens when we become judgmental, it leaves us with all of these overreactions. It leaves us with self-doubt. It leaves us with it leaves a situation with self-doubt. Well, were they genuine when they said that? Did they mean it? Were they being respectful? Was that a dig? What was going on? Don't become judgmental, because when we become judgmental, guess what happens then? The situation can end up with a whole lot of unnecessary gossip. What do we do, Cutler, if we don't become judgmental? Practice empathy, for God's sakes. Practice empathy. Try to put yourself in that situation, in that person's shoes, and then say, what would I want? And you can say to them, I'm not sure what to do. I'm not sure what to say. And be honest. But don't ignore it. Don't give a knee-jerk reaction. Don't become judgmental. And remember this, you all. Remember, sometimes when we are uncomfortable, people might not even notice. People might not notice that you're uncomfortable. Sometimes when we're put in uncomfortable situations, we're the ones who are more uncomfortable than anybody else. So one of the things that we should do is stop putting so much emphasis on how people perceive you. They don't know that you're uncomfortable. I wish I could teach a clinic online that I teach in other settings. And a part of what I teach is confidence over comfort. It deals with public speaking and presenting messages and speeches, those sorts of things, doing oral presentations. And I specifically talk about confidence over comfort. And one of the things that I remind students in that class or in that course is that a lot of times people don't know that you're uncomfortable because you have to learn how to let your confidence show. I'm confident in what I know. I'm confident in what I'm saying. I'm confident in how I feel. I'm confident in this moment of wanting to make you feel better. I might in my heart and in my mind and in my body, I may be uncomfortable, but I'm confident in one thing. I'm confident that I'm here for you. I'm confident and that I'm going to be here for you. I'm confident in the fact that I want you to be okay. I want you to be better. And so a lot of times when your confidence shows up, your discomfort will take a back seat. I said I wish I could teach a clinic, and I think I just did to some degree. But be confident in why you show up. And you might show up with clammy palms and your knees might be knocking, but be confident in why you show up. That is my friend, and I want her to be okay. That is my brother, and I want him to be okay. So guess what? All of my discomfort for a moment, you've got to take a back seat, because nothing is going to stop me from being there for him or her. Allow your confidence to show up more than your discomfort. I'm committed to standing beside my brother or my sister or my friend when they have to watch a loved one go on the ground. I'm committed to that. So my discomfort has to take a seat, because my confidence says I'm confident that I'm going to be there for him or her. I'm confident that I'm going to be there when they're in the hospital and they don't know what the doctor's report is going to look like. I'm confident that I'm going to be there. I've watched two of my aunts die in the house on a hospice bed. Did I like what I saw? Did I like the situation? Absolutely not. But I was confident that I was going to show up and be there for my family. So whatever discomfort I may have had in the moment, it had to take a back seat, because I was confident in what I was going to do. You've got to allow. If I've said nothing else, I think that is what I need to offer us this evening, the ability to let your confidence show up and let your discomfort take a back seat. I may continue this, I may pick up with this and keep on going a little later, because a lot of times we create awkward situations. We really do create those awkward situations. that sometimes people may not even notice. I've read something. I want to share this with you before I leave. Hang on, y'all. Give me just 1 minute, because I want to share this with you about these awkward situations. I read this, and it was showing how we create those awkward moments. So listen to this. I don't take credit for this. This comes from thevectorimpact.com, and it says that awkward moment, when the awkward moment you thought was awkward really wasn't awkward, and you created an awkward moment by thinking a non-awkward moment was actually awkward. Now that is an awkward moment. You all listen. Make sure you take care of yourself. Stay safe and stay sane. Keep your heads up, keep your hopes up. Let's keep on building community and maintaining connectivity. Know that from my heart to yours, there is and always will be so much love. I want to thank you all so much. I want to give a shout out to my cousins, SJ and Sloan, my two of my young watchers who are always watching. Another shout out to our oldest family member and friend, Miss Evelyn. I thank you all so much for tuning in. Make sure you take care of yourselves and tell somebody, come on and let's talk to color. I want you all to help me build our LTTC family and help each other show up in this space, in this place that is called better. I am better because of you all. Thank you so very much. I'll see you the next time. Have a great evening. Bye-bye.